what a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation first and foremost to my newest Patreon, which is Samson. So a massive shout out to you for joining us on Patreon. Also Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat to My Stomach is as Flat as the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Henrik86, Liam Nedrick, Erwin Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. Another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. I'm going to hand over to, wow, there's quite a few people in the after show for some reason, but I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show. Hello, Ryan, and hello, who's the other guy? Don?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Ron. Don.
Everyone's in the after show, but they're not talking in there either. I was half tempted to go into the after show. I'm thinking, if no one's in there talking, it's pointless me going in there. I'm sure the people who do actually want to talk will populate the live stream chat. Or at least I hope so.
Yeah.
Get a chance to
I'm here, I'm just at work.
No worries. Get a chance to see any of the videos I released over the working weekend I had?
No, I was busy. What were the titles? Let me go see. You would have it in Master B, so. One, this Earth turning. Earth, well, here's one at 2:38 a.m. my time. Earth turning in a vacuum debunked in 3 minutes. I haven't seen that yet.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I was quite proud of that.
I just watched it. It was great. Outstanding.
Yeah, I just trimmed it out of the interview that I did with a guy called Let's Talk. Cheeky sod, I went to his video because it wasn't released. It was supposed to be broadcast live. I went to his channel afterwards, it wasn't there. So I'm like, okay, well, fortunately I've done this so many times with flaky hosts that can't record their own shit. I recorded it. So shock horror, it didn't appear. But then it did appear 12 hours later. I'm like, okay, so I went in and had a look just to see how it looked at his end. And he's in the comments saying, basically, you don't understand, referring to me, and talking about science. I'm like, okay, my comment was going to be thanks for having me. Instead, it's going to be, you didn't offer any science. What are you babbling about? You thought maths was science. So instead of going and thanking him for his time and inviting me onto his show, it's like, why are you bad-mouthing me in your own comment section?
Why?
Yeah, he was so nice when he was talking to you, but what a jerk.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that guy was a piece of shit.
It seems that way. I mean, a few people in the comments were like, oh, he desperately wanted you to be a fundy religitard. And I thought, well, I steered it away from that if that was the case, so he didn't get a chance to do that. But then, sure enough, when I read his comments, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what he wanted to do.
Everything he said was so vague. It was driving me nuts.
He kept on trying to bring it back to, how have you come to this belief? Because I'd nipped that in the bud immediately, he had nowhere to go with the rest of his questions. So he had to bring it back somehow onto it being a belief that I hold. Like, well, it's not. You've got a belief, though. And people really struggle to cope with that when you point out that, no, in fact, it's you with the belief. And they just want to immediately go, well, no, your ideas about the world being flat are absurd. It's like, no, that's the obvious and observable nature of our reality. You reify the heliocentric model into physical actuality, which it isn't. It's a model. That's you with your religious faith. But somehow I've got to be quizzed on my belief in things. It's like, I haven't got any. Didn't offer him a single belief, but he thanked me at the end for my beliefs being offered. Because that's what he wants. He wants it to be my belief when he's the one with a belief. Cognitively, that's going to be a struggle for most people, him included.
Yeah, when you get smacked in the face with reality that they're the ones that have the belief, I guess it is kind of shocking.
Yeah, that took me an eternity. That took me so long to edit. So I took out because I did it from 2 shows, and obviously I had to give it the correct context. You know, this is what happened 2 days. I was going to say 2 days earlier, a day earlier, or 24 hours earlier, and then contextualize that with the next piece of footage that's going to play. And it was just an editing nightmare, flipping between these 2 different things to make it make contextually sense as I'm jigging around all these different little slivers of material and getting the Eddie Bravo's material in there as well. So that was, it was only half an hour long, and I've definitely done longer cuts of videos, but they typically don't require anything like the level of editing that video took. I can't remember the title of it. I'm going to have a look, because that, to date, I think that's the most time I've ever spent editing a video. Spent all day on it. Which most people are like, oh, so what? I spend 5 days on an editing project. It's like, yeah, but mine are totally disposable. 12 hours after I've done them, they're dead. You know, so it's a day on an edited video for me is an eternity. It was called Twerking for Subs. Please check it out. Twerking for Subs. That's a great title. If I do say so myself.
I remember that show.
I still think Sleeping Warrior should do the Twerking for Subs.
No, the ballers would be butthurt.
Very good.
We'll sell them butt plugs.
Oh, hey, Flatsoid.
So Nathan, so the belief that math is science was not covered?
He's educated in, quote, computer science, so he thinks maths is science. And it's going to be another one of those situations where somebody who thinks they've got a scientific acumen because they've got computer science under their belt or something similar, some other pseudoscience, you tell them that they've not got science and they're going to take that very personally and go, no, I have. Up until now, when I tell people I'm a scientist because I've got computer science, it's like, that's not science. Not dealing with the
you remember last
natural.
Week I said the word science is from scientia, which means knowledge. And so you have knowledge of this or knowledge of that. Those are the different science departments. But now if you're going to prove something that's a cause to an effect, right, then you got to have testable type of science. So
that's natural science.
You're distinguishing dependent variable.
You're distinguishing knowledge from natural science.
But this is the hijacking of the word, right?
Yeah.
They leave the listener, anybody outside of this show, I would say, because I don't listen to too many other shows, but maybe other shows as well, that define what natural science is, what the scientific method is. And so most people go around and the minute someone says science, they think it's been tested, vetted, and it's true.
Yeah, it's an easy way of hijacking the empirical nature of the scientific method, which has its roots in philosophy, but is not philosophical by nature. It's empirical by nature, in spite of it having its roots in philosophy. And yes, you can take the philosophical naturalism approach that has developed the scientific method and imply that somehow that's a philosophy or a philosophical way of looking at things. It isn't. It's an empirical method to establish cause of effects that we see in nature.
Well, empiricism is through your senses. And so you have to have the method and your senses have to pick it up. You have to see it, observe it, touch it, everything. But if you can't touch it, can't manipulate it, where's the empiricism?
Indeed. Yeah, you're qualifying what you need to be an independent variable.
You know what
Go on, Neil.
You know what I'm getting out of this when I hear things like that 3-minute clip and, just dealing with my son? They're under a spell. It's really like the heliocentric belief system. They're all under a spell, and we were under it too.
Yeah,
somehow we got out. But
what's a spell, Neil? It's one of the first subjects I ever covered. We're after Flat Earth, I mean. So, how are we under this spell? What's a spell, Neil?
from what I understand, it's like a belief you fall under.
No, it's far more literal.
Like a hit.
What's the words? No. Okay,
you.
let's try it with etymology. What do you think the etymology of the word spell is? What is spelling?
Spelling.
Yep.
Is spelling a word.
Ah, words, hey? So words and language used to spell.
Oh, I see where you're getting at.
Words and language, that's what magic tricks are. Nothing more than words and language. Tricks. Grammar. Grimoire. A magic trick is nothing more than me asking you to bring me a cup of tea. Can you bring me a cup of tea, please? It sounds simplistic. This is how I described it in the video I did 5 years ago. Next thing you know, a cup of tea has appeared. Well, that's magic, right? Out of nowhere, a cup of tea appears. Not magic, just words and spelling. Put together in the correct order with the intonation in the correct places. Inflections at the right moments. And you can conjure something out of thin air. With the assistance of people. With the assistance of others. Now, if you elaborate that into a magic trick that you see that's visual on stage, it'll still require some level of preparation and assistance. Yeah, words, spelling, grammar, all they've tricked us with. So the dude yesterday, when he was like, well, what he was kind of implying, at what point did you decide that your education was incorrect? I'm like, I didn't ever decide my education was incorrect. In fact, we were all taught the same thing, that it's a model. So, in the language, there's an inference and there's an actual meaning to most of the things that we've been taught. Now, if they've got double meanings that are lent on to sway you into a particular way of thinking, you could argue that that's slightly nefarious. However, to the more thinking, more open, more wise man, they'll understand it for what it is after the fact and not suddenly resent their education merely because they've reified models into reality. You just understand as you become a bit more learned that models aren't reality. But you don't suddenly want to go and get your teachers and say, why did you teach me the model was... Well, it's a model. But those words... Yes,
they've always said it's a model. They've always said it was a model.
Yeah. It's a philosophy. If you look into how it's reified by way of looking into the rhetoric, they declare how it's reified. Give you the magic trick.
Yeah, but that brings me to my point. Look, when they teach you about this model, when you're doing your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s, why did they teach us about this model maybe when we're in our mid-teens? Oh, maybe it would have came with some adversity?
It might have come with some objection. Whereas when you're impressionable and young, and you want people to have answers to questions that they may not be able to answer and might let them descend into chaos, let's presume a motivation that's non-nefarious. In other words, in a previous incarnation of this Matrix, people went nuts when they didn't know what the hell the sky was or where they were. That drove them bonkers. So, much better to just give them a just-so story at an early age. Let's pretend that was the motivation. Why not? Who cares? The reality is, we weren't necessarily taught incorrectly. Now, there are aspects of that I can't square that circle. You know, NASA. Just outright lying about certain aspects of our reality. They are lying. There's no two ways about that. Doesn't change the fact that when you look into the rhetoric, it does actually divulge where the magic trick is and how the magic trick's performed, like with any magic trick. Do a little bit of investigation. The problem is that a lot of people who are watching a magic trick don't want the magic trick ruined. And when it is ruined, they're very disappointed. Now, if that magic trick is part of their reality, then destroying that magic trick, because it's part of their reality, is cognitively too painful to let go. So they reject the explanation of the trick. Here's how the trick's performed. There you go. You take a line of sight to the apparent horizon, and that apparent horizon, geometric, cannot be seen, so we'll move it with an R value based on the geometric horizon we haven't seen. Andrew Thomas Young explains how they take a line of sight, in his words, to something you cannot see. He tells you. Well, there's the magic trick. But if you're under the illusion that that's actually your world, you'll hear that and go, yeah, he's saying we've got a geometric horizon and we're going to move the horizon we do see to a different position using that geometric horizon we can't see. So therefore we've got a geometric horizon. That's what they'll hear. Well, more fool them. Not Andrew Thomas Young's fault, really.
Well, he even protects himself by using the word calculate, because he knows he can't demonstrate.
Yeah. Now, the fact that a lot of the individuals who are putting this information across also want to reify this into physical actuality, and therefore have to make declarations when they've just double spoke about how they can't measure something with a line of sight because you can't see it. They'll tell you, well, the Earth isn't flat, though.
Well, a good magician only shows you what he wants you to see.
Yeah. And overtly states...
Entertain me.
Go on.
Do I not entertain you? Want to be entertained, right?
That's not magic, though. Magic is turning a platform very slowly and using a lot of smoke and mirrors. That's magic. But in the trick, the magic trick wouldn't work unless you told the person what they were going to see. I'm going to make the Statue of Liberty disappear. Yeah? Well, that's the trick. Those words. So in your mind, you've then had it programmed into you that something's going to happen, something's going to occur. When it does occur, the trick is fulfilled. Now, has it actually happened? No. But you were told that was going to happen, then it did seem to happen. Now, the fact that when you're told that you've been on a rotating platform very slowly, so much so that you couldn't notice it, to make you be turn the opposite way to it when they reveal the screen, that ruins the trick when you tell people. No, I wasn't on a rotating platform, turned away from it. He pulled away the screen and he made it disappear. Shut up. Don't tell me how the trick's done. That's at the low level. But like I say, that doesn't form the basis of people's worldview. Space, aliens, planets, a sphere, sky vacuums, those things are very much fundamental to people's idea about what their world is. So when you tell them, well, no, that's just a model, they're gonna brace against it. You know, they don't want to hear the trick. Like kids that reject Santa. They've been so well conditioned by their parents to believe that Santa's coming. They've been told to write letters to him. They've seen the presents arrive. When you say, nah, Santa's not really real. Yeah, he is. I wrote letters to him. No, it was me putting them out. It was me putting the toys out. No, that's not true. Santa is real. He's at Lapland. All the letters, I got a reply. That's what somebody who has their worldview changed does. Reject it.
Well, what are we going to do? Sit here and talk about it all day? Or are we going to do some sort of experiment, Nathan? Have you worked on your balloon yet?
I'll tell you what I did with Santa. I told my kids it was make-believe, but it was just for fun. And then I dressed up as one and they started laughing at me.
Although that guy was saying, do an experiment, he was basically doing what pretty much everyone does, which is say, well, if I don't know what it is, I insist that you now tell me. So go up and find out what the sky is, whilst I simultaneously hold the idea that it could be a vacuum, and you might find that out. Because if you're going to go and now check it out, it means that it's still uncertain. I don't know. I can still hold on to I don't know, because I don't know means it might be a vacuum. That's what he was really doing.
Hey, I got into a big argument with that guy in the after show, because like about 40 minutes after, I seen QE was on the after show on Betty's server, and this guy was on there, and I got into a big argument with him. I almost gave him my address.
About what?
About what happened with you, how he was threatening you.
That's
beat
good.
You up.
That's fine. That's I trimmed that. That's like I say. Like I dedicated a day to editing it. It was that important. to say to the audience, look, this is how you really feel. This is just somebody who's actually prepared to express it on a live show. Yeah? More than happy to have that down. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you feel... In the normal circumstances, I get where you're coming from, and I appreciate your camaraderie. But purely from a YouTube perspective, fantastic, man. Just glorious.
Oh, no, it was great. Yeah, it was great. But what I didn't like was he's on there telling QE that, I'm on the fence and all that. I was just asking some questions and I get treated like this. He's full of freaking shit. Okay, from that point, that pissed me off.
What? Again, he'll recognise this some way down the road. At the point that you're like, oh my God, I've got a lot of questions now. It's like, yeah, so have we. But there's no obligation for us to give you any answers, nor does it mean we've got them. It's very probable that we're asking the same damn questions you're asking. What's the sky? I don't know. Be interesting to find out. Maybe you should send up a balloon, right? No, just get on with it if you want to know what the sky is. The world's your oyster now. That's wonderful. See it for what it is. You might be the one to find out. Not put it on me to find out because you've suddenly had your paradigm changed and the world that you thought it was isn't anymore. So suddenly I've got to give you answers. That's really what he's saying. While simultaneously saying, I want to hold on to the idea. On the fence means I'm still semi-holding on to the idea that the sky could be a vacuum and they're not lying to us. Now, every time that idea gets shattered, that he's still clinging on to, quote, on the fence, it sends him into a rage. Because he can't be on the fence anymore. He's just basically a flat earther. Right?
That's correct.
No one wants to be a flat earther. Because they know damn well that they've spent the last however long since they found out about the subject ridiculing everybody in it. And then they go, oh, crap.
I like it. I like it. I like being a flat earther.
I do too.
Yeah,
but
so do I.
Sure.
Well, it's actually nice being labelled that because it makes them look even more stupid when we demolish the argument.
Being a flat earther is like watching a movie 20 times and then you're sitting with a guy who's watching it for the first time and you calmly know exactly what's going to take place before it takes place. You have total command of the argument.
Yeah, that's what I noticed in that interview. I could see your smug face, Nathan.
That's why I put it on. Because the whole time I'm like drumming my fingers through a 5-6 minute question and then by the time the conclusion of the question comes, it's the same question he asked before. Oh my God, it's getting tedious. So at one point, I played it back to my wife because I was getting irritated with him. I just want to know if that came across on the interview. So she listened back to it with me. And I don't know, after about 4 or 5 minutes, she was like completely switched off. I'm like, you're not listening anymore. I was like, well, he's really boring. I can't focus. And then by the time it got to the point that I was getting irritated with him, she's like, no, it's totally justified.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. My wife was saying, yeah, it sounds like you're interviewing him now. I'm like, yeah, well, this has got to go out to an audience. If I just leave him in complete control of this, it's going to be so tedious with endless waffly questions that aren't really specific, vague, generalised, or repeated. And then, I can only give a 1-word answer or 2-word answer and then let him vaguely waffle on about how it's my belief for 5 or 10 minutes. It's just boring. So at some point I'm like, got to turn this around to make it at least vaguely interesting. Otherwise, no one's going to be interested in watching it. But
see, what people don't understand is as you're producing a show, you're also listening as an audience member and wanting to, because it's a live show, and you're doing it in such a way where you're trying to make it interesting because you're going to play it and you want the audience not to turn off your show when they hear it later. So when someone waffles on and goes on, you have to bring it back on track. And many times they feel like, well, you're cutting me off. You're not letting me finish. And you're saying, well, you're not interesting. I'm trying to allow you to speak, but stay current.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, precisely. Well, that's exactly how I phrase it. I mean, most of the time it's negative when I say this, but first and foremost, I'm producing YouTube videos. I am a YouTube producer, a YouTuber. So from that perspective, that's good, right? Because if you're into this subject, and the subject matter I'm very focused on, obviously, is the shape and nature of Earth. Well, if I'm only interested in making the production of a video about the nature of Earth as good as it possibly can be, Well, I presume that's why I've got a very dedicated audience when, from what I'm being told, the interest in the subject's declining. Yet my stats are on the way up because I'm hopefully doing more, working harder to make the subject matter more interesting as a YouTuber. Because I think if you're just a flat earther, you're going to probably produce boring material.
Yeah, a lot of the new stuff you've been putting out has been ace, man.
Well, I would say that if you're a flat earther who does not have a live show, then your material is probably going to be more educational, less than boring if you have the main things down. But if you're going to do a live show and you want it to not be boring, you have to rein in the guest and say, stay on topic, don't repeat it 20 times. No, we've already covered that. That just gets old.
Yeah, in debate. But frankly,
Hey,
the
Nathan.
subject matter's so... Go on, Shadow, sorry.
That's fine. I just have a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Do you know SOHCAHTOA?
You have to remind me.
SOHCAHTOA. It's trigonometry.
It's an acronym, I just
Or
can't
it's-
remember what it's for.
Oh, okay. It has to do with right triangles. It's a way of memorizing, like calculate angles and distances and the hypothesis and the opposite. It's a monotonous way of memorizing it. That's all.
Okay. Was that your question?
Yeah. Are you familiar with it?
Vaguely, from high school.
Ah, okay.
Is that it?
No, that's it.
Was there not a point attached to it?
No.
Just testing my knowledge of high school trigonometry.
Yeah. Well, at least you're familiar with it. Maybe you don't remember it completely, but yeah.
I've not had need to use it for 20 years.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. No, that's it, Nathan. That's all.
But there must have been a reason for you asking. Just...
Been talking about it all morning for after show.
In what context, Ryan? Is there a point?
Oh,
attached to this?
measuring the Earth's radius around the head of the mountain.
You broke up. You broke up. Measuring
Oh,
the what?
sorry. Measuring the Earth's radius just by knowing the height of the mountain and the angle towards the horizon from a straight line. Presuming it's a sphere. That's all. That's all we were talking about.
They'd require a physical geometric sphere edge horizon for that calculation. And they don't have one.
Okay. Or you can get a value.
Oh, you're a globehead. Wonderful. Get a value from something you can't see. No, you can't. Can't see a geometric horizon. Didn't you know? Gone very quiet, my friend. Has he gone? Has he legged it?
He's gone.
Oh my god, he's legged it.
Well, that was weird.
That's how it's going to go now. 1, 2, 3, you're out.
Okay.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out.
Well, if you can't see it, how are you going to measure it no matter what kind of math you use?
Morning.
I love it. So, quiz me on my knowledge of the trig they use to make their claim, and then when I point out the trig they use to make their claim requires a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon, something that we cannot see, cannot measure, cannot give them the R value as described with that trig, he runs away. That's nuts.
That's reality.
Is that where they're at now?
If you're a glober.
Okie dokie then.
Well, it's silly. If you can't see it, doesn't matter what kind of math you use.
Yeah.
Things are getting easier, huh?
I just can't believe that happened.
Yeah, I know. It's like he was
There's-
getting
there's
all ready
nothing
for it
more
all morning in the
disappointing.
after show.
Nothing more disappointing than thinking an argument's going to happen and then they're gone.
They don't want to commit to the argument. You know, I had to drag that out of him. He wanted to get to the point where, do you know what this is? No, I don't know. Oh, well, great. That's a win. Bye-bye. Well, what's the point of me knowing it? Well, it's in relation to us measuring a physical geometric sphere edge horizon we have boats going over. Oh, well, you haven't got one of those. Where did you go? Bye.
It's like we got the answers to all the tests now. That's what I feel like. You know, in school, sometimes we stumble across the answers for all the tests and we'd use them. And it's great.
Well, the only thing that disappeared was him, not the boat over the edge.
It does seem to be getting easier, but I'm pretty sure that's just because everything we say is now so concise. Gonna get around it. Go on, BTA.
Hello, Nathan.
Hello, good morning. Or afternoon, wherever you may be.
Yeah, it's evening for me here. So, I have a question.
Good.
I hope you can answer that.
Sure.
Okay, can you explain what a lunar eclipse is?
Sure.
Okay. First off, tell me how your flat Earth model works.
I don't have a flat Earth model. Nor do I use the eclipse to claim anything. Do you use the eclipse to claim anything?
I mean, we have seen so many lunar eclipses before, and what we observe from it is that Earth is in the center of Sun and Moon, right?
Well, so
if
you're
you send
assuming...
a camera, with the hot balloon,
So you automatically assume that Earth is a sphere between the Moon and the Sun?
No. So if you see the shadow that is cursed on the Moon,
why is it a shadow? You're making quite a few assumptions. Why do you assume it's a shadow?
Because that's what happens on lunar eclipse, right?
That's what happens on the lunar eclipse. That's what happens in your model. It's a shadow in your model.
Oh, then what happens in your model?
I don't have one. I already told you that. But what we found is that you seem to assert that this eclipse, when you assume the Earth is a sphere causing a shadow, proves Earth's a sphere causing a shadow. That's called begging the question, though. You're just assuming this stuff. It's not proving we're on a sphere. It just proves you can talk through me while I summarise how this doesn't prove we're on a sphere. So by assuming it's a sphere shape causing a shadow doesn't prove it's a sphere shape causing a shadow. That's merely your assumption. It doesn't prove anything. So getting me to justify... Can you stop talking through me, please? Is that a possibility? You asked me a question, now I'm answering you. Is that a possibility that you can shut up while I answer?
And continue.
You don't need to give me permission, you just need to shut your mouth. I'm not going to ask you again. So, this claim you've asked me to prove on a model I don't have, you utilise to claim you're begging the question fallacy where you assume Earth's a sphere causing shadows. Now, it does not prove that. That's merely your assumption. So transferring the burden of proof onto me for something I don't claim and you do is a pathetic burden of proof reversal fallacy. It does not prove sphericity to your nature of your Earth, and I don't make any claims about the eclipse. So it's an absolute abject fail on your part for a claim you make using this presumed shadow caused by a presumed sphere Earth getting in the way of a presumed sun at a presumed set distance based on a presumed R value. Nothing to do with me, I don't make any claims. But it's nice to know that now we've dragged out how you use this claim, it definitely doesn't prove we're on a sphere.
Then try debunking the lunar eclipse.
Debunking what precisely? Debunking what? I just did. I debunked its claim. Eclipse. I just did.
No, then explain me what is a curve.
No, don't tell me what to explain to you. No, do you not hear me? Don't explain me. No. Come and paint my house. Don't make demands of me. If you want to claim that the lunar eclipse proves something, which you do, I'll rip it to tatters. Don't then demand that I use it to prove something for my model I don't have. How dare you? You think it proves Earth's a sphere. Shut up. Can you stop interrupting me, mate? Don't demand that I now justify lunar eclipse, nor tell me to debunk it when it proves nothing. What am I debunking? It doesn't prove anything.
Are you done?
It doesn't prove anything. You've just demanded that I debunk it. And I've debunked its use as a sphere proof. That's what I've debunked. Further to that, there's nothing to debunk. No, I'm not done. Shut your mouth. Clearly not done. I'm still talking. You demand I debunk something that hasn't got any claim attached. The claim of it proving sphericity, I have debunked. There's nothing else to debunk.
Let's talk about the claim that you did in your...
I didn't make a claim! Are you stupid? I haven't made a claim about eclipses, you dumb shit.
No, not a...
No, that's right, I haven't made a claim. You have. You use it to claim Earth's a sphere when you assume it's a shadow. I went through that and debunked it. You don't have to like it, now shut up.
I'm not talking about the eclipse anymore, Nathan. I'm talking about the claim that you made in your recent video about the Earth turning into a vacuum, debunked in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
can we talk about that
live
video?
Show. Yeah, they're housekeeping questions. Just ask me during the live show. Fine, no problem.
Okay, so in...
Can't take it.
He's starting the show. Wait a second.
Can't take a hint. I'll tell him. No, I'll ask me in the live show. Okay, I'll carry on talking definitely then. Yeah, people don't like taking instructions from me sometimes. When they're triggered and they've got a fundy belief in a sphere, they don't want to do what I tell them to. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Neil, Flatsoid, Arwin, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello.
Happy Monday.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Hello.
Good morning, hello.
Welcome back, everyone.
Indeed.
Hello.
Happy working weekend. So lots and lots of videos pumped out. Hello, Brian. Hello, Chocolate.
Hey, Nathan here.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, because all drop is just optical.
Not a physical one, at least.
Oh,
I had a guy in the pre-show came in and asked me if I remember what Sokotoa meant. I'm like, vaguely. He's like, okay. Like, well, are you going to tell me why you're asking? No, I'm not telling you why I'm asking. Like, well, what was the point of asking? It's like, well, it's trig. Hey? why are you asking if I remember what Sokotura is? There must be a point behind this. It's like, well, when you measure the dip angle to the horizon and then you derive the R value from it, that would require you to understand that. I'm like, that's fascinating, but it would require that you had a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon to measure that dip angle to. And then he ran away. He legged it. He literally legged it.
Like I said, he was in the after show all morning preparing that.
He's back now. Hey, Shadow. Hey, Shadow. How's it going? How about that geometric sphere edge horizon? No, not going to join in. Curve of the Earth, blocking boats and buildings, measured in the geometric sphere edge maths. Dip angles? No? Quizzing me on Sokotura in the pre-show? What's going on?
Why
Curve
are
of the
they
Earth.
running
Anybody
away
at all?
from their claims?
Anybody at all? Physical sphere edge horizon.
Nope.
It will always exist in their model.
Yeah, it only exists in the maths. Any evidence that you can have axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Would you not first need a radius to have an actual rotation of Earth?
Indeed.
Reference frames ruined. Dan disproved Bob's proof of the rotation of the Earth.
Any evidence of the distance? to the
Slyman
sun?
Dan is ace.
Oh, hold on. Globe,
No.
something or other? Globe, virus, foe?
What's that?
You want to add something?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
You just sat with your mic wide open. Thanks. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
Apparently the ballers think the sun is tangible.
Yeah, they think it's a Berlin ball of gas in a sky vacuum. They very much think it's a physical item.
You know why they think it's tangible?
Because they made it
You
up
can feel the
themselves.
heat.
Go on, what do you say? I cut you off.
But you can feel the heat, so apparently it's tangible.
I see. The heat's
Let's
tangible.
see the heat.
How do you see heat?
If you light a match, can you feel the fire, or do you feel the heat of the match?
Hey, you'd feel the heat. The fire itself would definitely be tangible, though. If I went and I could touch that and feel
The
it. Tangible
fire is
means-
light.
Tangible
That's what
is-
you're seeing.
Tangible means to touch.
But the point is, you can get to that you can get to that match, can't you?
Yeah, you can get to the match, but you can't get to the sun.
Yeah, the light can touch you, but you can't touch it.
Indeed.
How do you see heat? You could experience
just
heat,
answer
but I
Neil,
don't think
'cause
you
he's gonna
could
keep
see
asking.
heat.
The heat's
He said
tangible.
feel, not see.
Feel. You can feel the heat. That's tangible. But to say, therefore, the light in the sky is a tangible thing is a non sequitur.
Yeah, can anybody demonstrate heat being transferred over vast distances through a vacuum? Hmm?
First need a vacuum for that.
Well, you can't transfer heat through the vacuum. No, Arwin, no.
I'm curious though. Like, of course, I'm now digging back into the presuppositional nonsense. But I'm curious though. Like, what would a setup like that do? Like, you have a heat lamp, a really powerful one. You set it in an aquarium with gas, because otherwise it's probably not going to work. You have to have a container for it, of course. And then outside of it, another container with a vacuum, and then an object at a distance to that outside of that vacuum container. And then I wonder, like, how much of that heat is going to come through
Any
vacuum?
evidence?
Would it?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for the distance to the sun.
What is the sun?
I have no idea.
No evidence for the distance to the sun.
No idea, Neil.
I wish Adam was here. He would know the answer to the question.
No evidence to the distance to the sun. That was what he would say.
There are some things that are even beyond Adam, you realise.
No, but I think the inverse square law would apply first. But also, wasn't like heat, light, radiation basically very... like the higher the frequency, the easier it transfers, right? The further it goes, basically. Apparently. So then heat type light, the infrared, must be even more short range like that. See, so that's why I'm wondering, like, yeah, you could definitely see light through a vacuum, but how much of that heat would actually come through with a vacuum in between?
How about the distance?
Hold on. What vacuum?
With infrared light.
The second time Alwyn's just brought this up, so he obviously doesn't want to let it go. What vacuum? Why are we shining heat lamps through vacuums? What vacuum is this in reference to?
It's an artificially man-made vacuum in a container in which another container with gas pressure would be and the heat lamp.
Yeah, but why?
To test whether it is even technically possible that infrared light could go through a distance, through a presumed vacuum that in this case would be actual, in order to transfer heat by touch over vast distances
It doesn't answer.
through a vacuum, if that's a technical possibility.
You have kind of half answered. You've said if it would be possible in a presumed vacuum. What presumed vacuum? You know where I'm going. Just say it.
It's just theoretical, man.
For what reason?
Isn't it sort of like what that guy wanted to do Friday? Like,
It's not going to prove the distance to the sun. I just want to know if heat can even transfer in their conceptual model like that. See?
I wonder
Testing their model.
I wonder if you can extract a very small quantity of acid dropped into a swimming pool. I wonder if you could just, like, reverse that process and extract it back out entirely. No reason for me wanting to know this. I'm just curious. I wonder if that can be done.
It is possible.
I mean, I don't know.
Possible, Nathan.
I don't know how far the sun is, but, you know, I want to know if you can extract out that acid once you put a tiny drop of it into a massive amount of water. There's no reason for me wanting to know this.
Well, you can. There you go.
Oh, brilliant. That's made my day. Nature of reality, screw that.
Well, it is a physical thing that is being tested in such a case, but it's still in an impossible scenario. So what it's basically being tested for. It doesn't mean that you can't figure out just the mechanics of things.
Oh, my bad. Do you need a just so story? I assume that underneath the crust of the earth there's an entire swimming pool that's got a tiny amount of acid in it, and that's why we're kind of acidic in the soil. There you go. There's a made-up story. I made it up myself, therefore it's true.
Cool. That would explain the magnetics.
In a world. In a world.
Oh my god.
Hey, I can do that.
In a world.
Any idea is a good idea.
Time.
Doesn't matter how absurd.
That's right. I can make sense of anything.
I should have realised that before I made up some nonsense, really.
No.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Sun is not a tangible object.
Thank you.
Okay, let's
In a world.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Which one?
We only have one.
Does it matter which one?
Yeah, it don't matter which. Any.
But how do you prove something that's an effect of something that's maybe caused by something that's an effect that's actually just thought up as a construct in your mind?
Well, you build a device and then you conjure a phenomena inside that device, and then you tell everyone that it's a ripple of space-time bending.
Oh, I know how to do that. So if I get a heat lamp, right, and they get a vacuum.
Get him.
You bastard!
Owen's in a playful mood today, ladies and gentlemen. It's good fun. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Anybody on their travels found anybody claiming science in reference to the globe? Anybody at all?
Well, I found this link. Nobody really addressed it. I put it in the Master Beat chat yesterday. Is it again?
What was it exactly? Let's have a look.
How we learned black holes actually exist.
Oh, okay.
2020 Nobel Prize in Physics. And I posted it. I can put the link back in the chat. I'll put it in.
To be honest, I didn't want to watch it.
No shit. Yeah, I asked, hey, can anybody find where the science comes in? And he literally didn't even make a claim. He didn't even say what is just talking about it.
I was too busy making a greater video.
It needs a Timotei girl, doesn't it, to have sopping wet hair flicked over her shoulder saying, now the science part, just to distract you.
I find it funny how the Veritasium guy had to release like a post about how apparently people didn't like the title and the thumbnail of his video, and he's out there apologizing for it or something. So I guess people didn't like the title of Gravity, why gravity is not a force. I found that kind of funny because he's out there apologizing for it.
Yeah, a few quotes. So,
because you can and must think of gravity as a force now.
Right, took the words out of my mouth. There's one from Musa. Or Professor Brian Cox. There isn't really a force of gravity at all.
To your question, a hypothesis could only be working properly within the scientific method, and those titles you spoke of, they cannot do the three constituents of a scientific method. So, no.
No, there is no scientific evidence whatsoever for a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum. It doesn't exist. There's not going to be any viable hypotheses from any of these pseudoscience fields. They don't have any science. They say they've got science all the time. I'm surprised we have a limited stream of people coming in pointing out where it's asserted they have science. I haven't watched the Veritasium video. Did he actually assert at any stage in his video that it was scientifically validated?
What, validation with actual experiments and not just thought experiments?
Validation? Oh my God, from a heliocentrist? Heaven forbid.
Why would you do actual experiments when you can do thought experiments? They're so much more rewarding.
They could just jump to the scientific theory without the work in between.
Now the science part. So shiny. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Fly me to the moon.
Only in a textbook.
Yeah. Elaborate stories, no physical evidence, P waves, S waves, very nice predictions. Any testing of those predictions, giant failures only.
I feel sorry for the dinosaurs roasting down there.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
But it's all optical. It's not geometrical.
Indeed. We do not see the geometric horizon.
It's in the maths, though, right?
Yeah, it's in the maths.
Remember,
it only exists in the
spheres
maths.
don't have edges.
Dude, we've only disproven the radius. Come on.
At best, you would have disproved the radius. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, and Slicebroken is still avoiding me to tell me what context he means with a closed system in an open container. Open system in a closed container.
Oh,
what if the Earth was a spaceship? It is in a container, it's a spaceship, and there's space outside, and NASA's keeping the valve, like the vacuum, the chamber where you can exit, they're keeping it a secret. How about that?
I've just got word from Slice Barcane, actually, Flatsoid. He says, you don't understand.
Wow, what a great rebuttal.
I'm only joking. That's just par for the course, though, isn't it? I think that's it. That concludes the housekeeping.
Isn't that kind of the same lines as gas pressure but that's not atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, they claim it's different.
What is atmosphere?
Atmo means air.
Contradiction.
Sphere means fundamentalist religious zealot assertion that the Earth is that shape.
So they've actually scientifically proven there's an atmosphere, or because I know there's science for atmo, but there's no science for atmosphere itself.
No, it's an oxymoron. Atmo, air, has no inherent shape, whereas sphere implies that the gas in the atmo, air, takes the shape of a container. That's an oxymoron.
Can anybody hear me?
Well, yeah, if you're going to talk about the model, then you gotta understand atmospheric law, Nathan.
But they don't have a
model?
Closed system, Arwin. It's an open system, so they don't have a container.
But it could be a word trick, because what if they knew the container was a sphere?
Then they wouldn't be saying it's open.
Can I finish? Then of course, yeah, they're saying, oh, it's a vacuum outside. That makes no sense. But if in actuality it was a sphere, then calling it atmosphere would be technically correct and very confusing for everyone, which is exactly what they want. So
well, why would they want that when they're saying there is no container to begin with?
To confuse people.
They're not that smart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, really.
Well, maybe the people at the steering wheel, but the designers of the system were pretty damn smart, I'd say.
That's us.
That's just a spell.
That's us.
Exactly.
Right.
They've already confused people just creating a word such as atmosphere, which is a paradox in itself.
You just confused.
They're confused now. But were the people that were making this, building this, programming this into everything, were they just as confused? I don't think so. People now, the believers, are confused because, yeah, if you believe it, it's going to confuse the shit out of you. Of course it is. That's what it's designed for. But the real designers, they couldn't have literally believed it all. Yeah. They had to foresee it, lay out the road. They had to know it wasn't true in order to see the mistakes coming and account for them in the thinking process.
We discussed this last time about Andrew Thomas Young. He's this designer that you're describing. Well, he's just reifying a physical edge, which he's drawing a line of sight to, and then declaring he can't see it. So he's drawing a line of sight to something you cannot see. Those are his words. He believes it. Well, he's the creator or the designer in your example.
Well, he's here now doing that. But yeah, before the internet, it's different.
How is it different? Other than faster?
Well, now it's all open and available. Anyone that wants can basically figure out how to do this and be a champion from the grassroots, be a champion baller, designer, conceptualizer, all that. But back in the day, it wasn't like that. It wasn't just so much available for everyone to tap into.
Back in what day and what was it like?
Well, let's just say 50 years ago, or 80 years ago, 100 years ago, in the planning stages. What, do you think that this entire religion arrived by accident, Nathan?
I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. As much as I've quizzed people on the historic account, which is fairly well documented in terms of where you can track back the origins of the heliocentric Copernican model, that much is seemingly documented in history. Now, the characters that they've got might be completely made up for all I know, but there is a seeming paper trail back to where the origins of this model come from. But that doesn't mean I know how long the model's actually been introduced for, or who introduced it, or why they introduced it, or any of those things. Now, you're postulating that those stories and characters were invented 100 years ago. Maybe. But when I asked my grandmother, who was within that lifetime, when she was about 100 and something years old, she certainly didn't seem to think that it was a new idea of the Earth being a sphere when she was taught it at school. Now, very westernised in a UK school is very different to what they might have been taught out in the Wild West, for example, 100 years ago. But I'm just saying, it doesn't, from what I can glean, it doesn't seem to be a nefarious plot that was dropped on us 100 years ago. It's more than that, but I don't know how much longer, and it certainly doesn't tie in with their bullshit history that they give us, as far as I can ascertain. The primary source evidence for their history's woefully lacking.
All right. I'd like to rebut to that because it's a very good point. I'm not suggesting that the original designers were even nefarious at it. They might have thought like this is just a good way to keep things under control. You know, it's the compartmentalization. It's a priest system that is being applied by obfuscating knowledge and then replacing a simpler to grab onto thing for the public to learn that will lead to a dead end when they really want to learn. See?
Yeah,
and that's what they've built. And at first it might have been just out of like, oh, we need to protect from the insanity that's going to arrive in people in reflection on the wars or shit, you know, something like that. But now it's like a free-for-all wizard fest. It's crazy now. It wasn't always like that.
Well, it may be anecdotal, but obviously there's an interview with DITRH and a lady that's over 100 years old that was talking about how in school she was taught it was flat until she wasn't. Until all of a sudden one day it changed into being, now it's a ball. And this is a lady that's still alive, right? So, I mean, is it really 2,000 years old, this nonsensical heliocentric bullshit? I don't know.
Right.
I think that's up in the air.
That's why I said 100 years ago. I think it's much more likely it's not that incredibly old.
Yeah, and then you got newspaper clippings from 1900s where people are getting arrested for walking around talking about it's a ball. So, I mean, really? Where do we go with that?
You don't. It's just newspapers. In the same way as would you take the rag information that you get from today's newspapers and take it as read? That's just propaganda, the same as any other bullshit that you could tie yourself with today.
Yeah, sure, but that's what I'm saying. That's a contradiction to the we've all known for 2,000 years that it's this. Oh, I don't know.
I'll agree.
Some things that might say otherwise.
I'll agree with Darwin from that point then. And you know, there's examples, Little House on the Prairie, where they give an example of exactly that from where it would be 50 years back from when it was made, but 100 years back, say, from now. And they're saying exactly the same thing. So yes, it does seem like out in the sticks, they caught the tail end of the education system actually changing in the last 100 years, whereas us here in the UK, with my experience and my 100-year-old grandmother, certainly wasn't the case. But we are normally ahead of the curve in that regard. So if it was 150 years ago introduced, and the tail end of it was being introduced 100 years ago, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
even my great-grand, she also says in school she was taught flat Earth. It was just one day all of a sudden globe.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? All of a sudden one day. Oh, guys, hold up. We just realized it's actually a ball that we're living on. And here's all the schematics and how that works.
Well, it coincides with cinema, doesn't it? So you got Universal with their globes and the evolution of their globes around about the same time. And we've been getting propagandized with those for about the last 100 years, haven't we? And people see it on the silver screen, and then from there on in, it's cemented in the suspension of people's disbelief forever. Oh, until now.
Yeah, people are starting to wake up.
It's a crap idea. Heliocentrism's stupid. People hanging off the bottom of a ball, flying through a vacuum. Now, 5 years admittedly down the road, it's so stupid. I just think it's laughable. Yeah, half the Western world think they're on a ball, but really it is silly. You got to admit, it was never really going to catch on. If it is 100 years old, the fact it's lasted this long is a bloody miracle.
I agree. It's just silly. It's beyond silly, actually, now.
Well, I don't know. Beyond silly. Well, beyond silly, what function does it? Why is it here?
Originally, it's just a philosophy, a way of understanding the movement of the stars. Now reified into a physical ball beneath people's feet with you standing antipodal.
Right. So it's basically, when you really think about it, a giant mind experiment that's gone a little bit out of control and started to get financial interests and technically dream scams involved.
It's all flat until you make some geometric considerations, Arwen.
Right.
I think Arwen's talking about NASA. There's money to be conned, right, Arwen? Is that what you meant?
Right.
That's where it all fell apart. As soon as people rubbed their hands together and went, whoa, this is a swindle I want a part of, that's where you get NASA. A nice little black hole to pump a load of money in just to keep a rhetoric, a philosophy going. And it's a blatant lie. There's not very many things in this subject matter we can point out and go, there's liars. Overt, outright liars. There they are. You can point at them. Well, why are they there? Well, because it's a good blag, right? That's why. And that's what's they're down
dreams for. Sell. People lay down huge bucks for dreams, you know? That's the problem.
Yeah, and where are they? They're in heaven, aren't they? The new version of heaven, Heaven Plus, where you float around. You can be a god. They're just selling people heaven.
Now you could buy a property in heaven now too, right? Put money on stars, pieces of land on the moon. I mean, it's all awesome. Why not?
Oh, there's so much stuff in the sky to flog people. It's endless. But as I say, that's where, in my opinion, it all falls apart. As soon as they said we're going to send someone to the moon, that's it. The blag's up from there on in, as far as I can tell.
Didn't they send somebody to the moon in 1969?
Say again, Neil?
I said, didn't they send people to the moon in 1969?
No. What, through a sky vacuum?
It's a violation of nature.
No.
What are you talking about? I just seen a video on it.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber joke. Go on, Brian.
Yeah, I was just saying to, I think it was Chocolate and Arwen, and maybe even Neil the other day, that what I reckon, for a long time, there was a lot of conspiracy about where all this money that NASA was getting, where it was all going, that they had a black budget, let's just say, and they were creating, let's just say, wormholes to Saturn and spaceships and all kinds of stuff that we don't know about. It was all really, really dark and undercover. But I don't think it was that at all. I think what they were doing is setting up all these places like JAXA and ESA and all these other nonsense space agencies. I reckon it was them forming them. That's what that was. That's what the money was used for. Creating all these other space agencies, to keep validating the lie.
No doubt. Expand.
You know, it's expensive to build a base in Antarctica.
Maybe. That, for me, is just probably part of a bait and switch that we're not fully aware of how that trick's working. I've postulated before that if you had a secret place, let's just say, for the sake of argument, there's Island X, right? And it's somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic. Well, isn't it much better to point at somewhere that's completely benign, like a ice island, Antarctica, and even give people the notion that it's spread out all the way around them and give them a few maps that seem to imply that, rather than telling them about the actual place that they're genuinely going for whatever reason, if there is even such a location. In other words, if you don't want people to know about something, Antarctica, they wouldn't tell you about it, as opposed to have well-documented treaties, hands across the water, etc., etc. But most people don't see it that way. They just want to have an ice wall or whatever they want.
Wizards always say they build their bases in unattainable locations. Of course they do.
I don't know. It's the same as, I don't know if you watched The Pianist before.
I've seen The Pianist, yeah.
Have you watched you remember that part where they have the table and then they want to hide something from so they put the newspaper over it?
Yeah.
On the table.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing. That's how they work with Antarctica. It's there right in front of your face, but they throw all these little smoke screens so you'll just say, it's not important, type of thing.
Okay. Maybe. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know. So, we don't know.
Well, I would think they did a pretty good job with the treaty, because most normies don't even know that it exists. There are a lot of people that come in, or especially like in places like 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, and we're talking to new people, and they have no idea that the Antarctica Treaty is a thing. So whether or not it's out there or not, they've kept it pretty well hidden in plain sight.
Maybe. Just a quick shout out to Awaken Narrative. It says, I can't believe I actually, quote, believed in space and the spinning ball, quote, model. I believed the lie. Now I, quote, know the truth. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Awaken Narrative.
Shout out to Awaken Narrative. And another shout out to my people on 24/7 Flat Earth Discord 2.0.
For all your 24-hour Flat Earth debating needs, 24/7 Discord.
Yes, indeed.
So what I see on this topic.
Oh, can you hang on just for 1 second, 10th? Was it Snagoli? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt 10th. I'm just saying, shout out to you too, Chocolate, and you too, Nathan, the whole panel. You guys rock.
Thank you very much.
Shout out to you too, brother.
on,
Thank you.
From the biblical worldview that I have, what I see is conditioning. And when you have false religious systems, like the Pope heads one, says, "Oh, I'll baptize aliens." It's what I could see the scripture pointing to principalities and powers of the air, which are the angelic forces, dark and good. And so how would they really want to prove this heliocentric model? Wouldn't it be great if some alien showed up? Oh, well, that must mean space is a vacuum and all the things that we said is happening, and changes the whole paradigm. So how it plays out at the end, I'm not exactly sure right now, but I do know that there's a lot of chatter right now, and the false prophets are talking about baptizing them, and the whole world's waiting for the encounter, except it won't be any heliocentric alien, it'll be a demon.
Okie dokie.
I'm 100% with you on that.
What I noticed in the past 5 years is that there's been less and less and less stories of abductees by aliens and people seeing alien spacecraft and big stories about this happened to me with these aliens. And like those stories just literally from 2015, they just suddenly dropped off by 80%. All of a sudden just gone. And now they're out there, but they're on the fringe. There used to be a lot more on YouTube. YouTube used to have a lot more of them videos, let's say recommended and different things. Now, and there'll be a lot more of it on TV. Now it's,
but Brian, that's why they tried to bring it back up with that Area 51 raid.
Yeah, I think it was like less than 100 people turned up to that.
Sounds like a Joe Biden event.
Even before I got into Flat Earth, that alien abductive narrative, like it started dropping off, and the people who were really heavy into that, they already had an excuse behind that. They were like, oh, because the aliens, they've already gotten everything they need from the humans, so they don't abduct us anymore. It's like, what? I don't get it.
Yeah,
they already got an answer for that. Sorry.
Sorry for interrupting, but I wanted to address this subject for a bit because, like 20 years ago, I was also like into UFO research stuff. A little bit more than 20 years ago, because my first girlfriend was really into that, like really. So we went to like these places, conventions of UFO and all that, seriously. And there were people that were saying, yeah, we've been abducted. And I would literally just walk up to them and not even be patronizing, but just like, okay, taking a look at them. These people were obviously under influence on a regular basis on some stuff, not necessarily cannabis, because they were just really sloughed out. And I asked them, like, so what was it like to be kidnapped? And they were like, yeah, let me tell the story. And then they're like, yeah, they were in their room and suddenly, like through their window, they saw this and then they just floated out like a Peter Pan situation. So then it was like, are you sure you were awake? Are you sure this isn't like a trip? Doesn't mean that there's nothing to it, but this might not have been the physical reality. Do you know? And they would just blankly stare at me. And I was like, oh.
Okie dokie. Quick couple of shout outs. Sorry, Owen. Awaken Narrative says, shout out to Chocolate and his work on 24/7 Discord. Indeed. Big shout out to Chocolate. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Awaken Narrative. Also, Godzilla37 says, want to hear an endless list of excuses? Ask a Glober chat warrior to go on Discord and prove their wet ball rocket model. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Godzilla.
Chocolate saying,
so
Coriolis effect!
But if I can round out, if anybody cares about this, but I did actual kind of field research and walked up to these UFO story people to really figure out, what is this? What was their experience? Do they believe it? And then do they even know what it was they experienced? And I would analyze it. And I came to the conclusion, all this supposed alien abduction, every one of them that I actually met face to face and had a conversation with, in my opinion, in my expert insight, that was all dream-based, all of it. And it might have been very intense experiences, probably like pineal gland involvement and all that. but none of it was any actual physical experience. I concluded that very early on, like 20 years ago. So,
so possible demons?
Well, extra dimensional, call them demons or extra dimensional, whatever you want. You know them by their fruits, like with everything else.
I personally have seen, and I still do see, things in the sky, and they're not airplanes, they're not helicopters, they're certainly not satellites, and they move at will when they decide to move. They're lights, that's all I can see them as is a light. I don't know what they are. I don't know who's in them or who made them. But to the best of my knowledge, I wasn't abducted.
Brian?
Brought off into a sky vacuum. Go on.
Brian, you would agree that it's very possible for them to have a technology that they just don't give out to the public. It's easy.
Yeah, or maybe there is an alien. It could be either fast idea. I don't know, but the story I could say is the stories that we were being fed about aliens and all this stuff for years, and all these people that were experts on the subject, and this happened and that happened. Well, I'm seeing what would be the real thing, a real UFO, unidentified flying objects. They've interacted with me with light. I've been able to get them to flick light back at me, like a Morse code type thing. Not that I'm using Morse code, I'm just saying. And they have done that. Again, they know you're there, but who are they? What are they? I don't know. But I'm certainly not making a claim that they're from some sky vacuum and they're not human. I don't know.
But like I'm saying, wouldn't it just be possible that the governments have superior technologies that they don't disclose to the rest of the population? It's possible.
Oh yeah, I mean that's possible. But sorry, I didn't. When you said that the last time, I didn't make it clear enough. I was like, yeah, that's possible. It's also possible that there's someone else that's not us in them. I built them, or I don't know. Anything is possible with it. But
isn't it possible that a third of the angels that were cast out of heaven are looking for bodies that they could possess?
I have no idea.
Could it perhaps be that people, say, like in the 70s, where they were just randomly tripping out, they would actually be picked up by, say, like the FBI or something in their giant trippy state, and then they would experience that exactly like an alien abduction?
That's a good one.
Oh, I'm not talking about all that. I'm talking about what I experience and have experienced as something real, a real UFO, an unidentified flying object. I know what they're not. They're not helicopters, planes. They're certainly not satellites. They have interacted, and they will. If I try to get them to do interaction, they will interact. They don't seem hostile. I don't know if they're friendly. I don't know. I don't know what they are, but they'd be there.
Hey, I live on the border of California, Mexico, and the aliens here cook really nice dishes, so I have no problems with aliens.
Did they climb over the wall?
So that's who's cooking your food.
Just a quick disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on the panel of Flat Earth Debate do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of me.
We know you are in cahoots with them, Nathan. We know.
At least my aliens have flat tortillas. Come on.
Sorry, Tony V says from the chat, he says, with a super chat, thank you very much, Tony V, says, could it be you guys have taken away too many drugs? I think he just means way. I'll just repeat that as I think there's a typo in it. Could it be that you guys have taken way too many drugs? I'm with you, Tony. I think yes. I think some of the panel members... Maybe
I've slipped to my paint.
Yeah.
I haven't. I just studied people that did drugs to get to the bottom of this experience that's so popular.
Wait, hold up. So we're the ones that took drugs as we are standing still, but yet don't believe that we are spinning around at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, flying around a giant ball of gas in a vacuum at 66,600 miles per hour? Right? Are we the ones taking drugs or you guys?
Yeah, who's under the influence here?
Yeah, we didn't take enough drugs for that to happen.
Right. Tell us how people are sticking antipodal under our feet, thousands of miles, on the other side of a ball. Please tell us that. I'm trying not to sound like you're on drugs.
Please tell us how everybody can be going in the same direction at the same time on a ball.
Well, I'm trying to get to that guy. There was a guy in the pre-show that had some questions. He was asking about what was that? Eclipses. I thought he was going to have something in the live show. Is he still around?
Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah, I am here. Yeah, I am here. I'm here. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, what have you got, buddy?
I mean, I have a question, but it seems it's too silly for us to Nathan, so I just kind of avoiding it and just listening to the discussion. That's it.
You can ask. We don't mind answering.
Okay, so so this might sound silly, and you may shout at me. So I'm just gonna put this out right there. So if Earth is flat, why are we just seeing beyond the curvature of the Earth, but not just too far? Like if I live in US, I should have seen the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Like why am I not like I know this is far beyond the curvature of the Earth, but if Earth is really flat, why are we not seeing the Eiffel Tower?
Too small.
Have you ever
Do you
heard
think you have unlimited line of sight?
Too small.
Oh, for what?
You understand things get smaller the further away you get from them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Too small.
So
You know what
once
Right, and
So you, I mean, we are seeing stars and moon, which are like hundreds of kilometers away from us.
Are they?
Or miles?
are they?
Are they?
Hold
How
on.
do you know that?
Yes.
Are they?
We don't know that.
Because because on an eclipse day, me and my friend had a telescope, and we have seen moon, which is really far, and we have seen which is close to us. At least moon, not the stars, but we have seen moon, which is at least like 23,000 miles from here.
Why? Because you say so.
But
Can
US
I
to Paris
take this?
is just like 4,000 miles.
Yeah, on flat. Sorry, feel free.
Sorry. Okay. If it's so far, then why is it with my iPhone 6 I can zoom into the moon?
What?
I can use my iPhone 6 and I can zoom onto the moon. If it's so far, how do I get that right?
I mean, you can zoom on to the moon with your iPhone. Yes, you can, but you won't get as much clarity as you watch in a telescope.
But my iPhone can't zoom a mountain that's 2 kilometers away. How's that work?
I mean, see,
Trying to
if
say
I
the
use the
moon is
same
not as far
telescope
as
that I
you think
saw,
it is.
Okay, look, you gave us a number.
You understand?
You gave us a distance. Do you know how you've got that number?
the distance between the Earth and Moon.
Yeah, you just assumed it. You threw in that it was that distance. Do you know how you've got that number, though?
They predicted it. The astronomers years ago, they predicted it.
Sorry, we're talking about measuring things. Predicted? No, you don't make predictions about. You measure things. That's how you measure distance with a tape measure. You can measure things. You know how to measure. That's not a prediction.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so where'd you get that distance? You're assuming it's a very far away thing, and you're saying, well, I can see that. Even though your original question was, why can't I see the Eiffel Tower? We answered, it's too small. Now, can we just cover that first before we move on to where you've got your moon distance? We know where you've got that distance from. It would seem you don't.
I'm being honest. I didn't find the distance between Earth and Moon. I looked it on the internet. I'm being honest about that. But if Earth is like flat, how flat is the Earth?
Stop asking us questions. Don't scattergun us. So let's get some concessions. First and foremost, you asked about why we can't see the Eiffel Tower, and you assumed it was behind a curve of the Earth. You made that declaration as part of your question. Then we answered, it's too small. Now I'm going to ask you, why would you assume that there's a curve of the Earth, a physical blockage between things that you see in the distance and yourself? Why would you assume that?
because I don't see that far away.
The things are too small.
Do you think that's my...
Let's try again. I'll try slower. First, concede what I say. Don't ignore it. Don't just assume your sphere edge has got in the way when we've answered your question about the Eiffel Tower. Why can't I see it? It is too small. Do you understand that things get smaller as you get further away from them, eventually becoming too small to see, like the Eiffel Tower at a distance? It's not automatically behind a physical Earth curve edge that boats fall over. That's absurd. I'm telling you, not asking. It gets too small to see. Do you understand and concede this so we can move on? Not ignore it.
That Eiffel Tower is too small. But what about a Mount Everest? It's the largest
also
spot on
can
the
get
entire
too
Earth.
small to see. Do you understand that it doesn't just apply to the Eiffel Tower now? It seems that I've got to take baby steps with you. Not only the Eiffel Tower, but anything you look at gets smaller as it gets further away. We could list everything. We could go through all sorts of buildings and mountains and structures, but we just prefer you understood and conceded at this stage that things can get too small to see. How long is this going to take?
None at all. Thank you for answering the question. I'm done.
You haven't. So it's just ask us something and then bugger off when we ask you something. So no concession, no I understand. You asked us a question that we've answered and you've not replied to that. Why doesn't the Eiffel Tower get behind Earth curve? Oh, well, Earth curve's an assumption that would require physical geometry and we debunked that with the Black Swan. So your declaration that it would somehow be behind Earth curve, we've debunked that. Now, obviously, you're not in the slightest bit interested in responding to anything I've got to say, only in asking us questions and then running away when we ask you something. So do you understand that the Eiffel Tower gets too small to see? The same would apply to a mountain or anything else you describe. It's not going behind a physical edge that boats fall over. That's your globe Earth edge physical horizon. That's not happening. Maybe just not respond to anything I've said? Too difficult to talk to Nathan, right?
Yeah, you're shouting, that's why.
I'm not shouting, this is my normal tone. This is how I talk.
You said you don't interrupt, so I'm not interrupting. So when you're finished, then I'll talk.
Okay.
And I agree with you. Things get too short when you're too far. I get it.
Excellent.
I get it.
So not going over a presumed sphere edge. Boats aren't falling over an edge of the globe. Just getting too small to see. You've just told me that you won't interrupt, so now you're continually bloody interrupting me. You don't have to nod along while I'm talking, saying yes, yes, yes. That cuts my line. Thank you. So boats are not going over a sphere edge horizon. This physical geometric sphere edge you think boats go over and blocks things like the Eiffel Tower? They just get too small to see. They converge at the horizon. It's a convergence point. It's not a physical sphere edge that you assumed. Can we get a concession on that too? Maybe debate about it.
Yes, so according to you, how tall should a thing should be so you can see it from any distance? How tall, according to you, it should be to see the other corner of the planet?
How tall something's got to be to see it forever? No, there's something called an angular resolution limit based on the aperture of the thing you look through. Telescope, eyeball, camera. They've all got an aperture size. That dictates how big something will be. It's calculated with the Rayleigh criterion. Is this something you're familiar with?
Yes, I am. So hang on. So a telescope makes it 1,000 times more closer, right? That's what telescope is made for. So if I point it towards France from US, a telescope, even though I won't see it, right? Even though I won't see an Eiffel Tower, which makes the telescope 1,000 times more closer to a thing that which is too far. So why am I not seeing through a telescope?
Just explained. The angular resolution limit based on the aperture calculable with the Rayleigh criterion, something you acknowledged as knowing, and then went on to ask me precisely what would be answered with the Rayleigh criterion that you said you understood. So you don't understand it, you lied. Otherwise you wouldn't be asking me that question. It's an absurd question if you understand diffraction limit. What's diffraction?
No,
And let's have a go at a fundy fuckwit for a change. What's diffraction?
I know what a diffraction is, but
what is it?
A diffraction is a turning, is a bending or a turning of a wave, such as light.
I get so much shit about this. You don't know what diffraction is, and yet you're asking me and telling me you know what the Rayleigh criterion is. This is the diffraction limit. You don't even know what diffraction is. Why are you asking me with your assumption that an Earth curve edge, which we've debunked with the black swan, gets in the way, and presuming that you can see the Eiffel Tower forever? That's absurd. It's so stupid. Why would you think that you can see things forever? You've got an angular resolution limit. The point that things diffract. Why are you talking through me? You fundy moron. You don't know what diffraction is, you complete idiot. There's a limit that you can see things at. The point that they disappear. The point they diffract. The point that you have interference. That limit is calculable with the Rayleigh criterion. Maybe look into it. Rather than asking me why you can't see the Eiffel Tower forever, it makes you seem like an imbecile. Things get too small to see, you imbecile. Now answer me this. Why would you assume that boats go over the edge of a sphere, blocking them from bottom up? Why would you assume that, given that you don't understand that things can disappear into the distance with an angular resolution limit at the point they diffract? You don't even know what that word means. I get accused of not knowing what diffraction is, even though I've been detailing it for 3 straight years. The reason people come to me and ask me what diffraction is because I get people like Conspiracy Cats on Tony's channel fundy muting the shit out of me when it takes quite a considerable period of time to explain to an arsehole what the diffraction limit is and how it destroys the fundamental premise of your Earth curve geometry, which ignores this limit where things diffract. Now, that's completely ignored in your Earth curve geometry, yet you've told me Earth curve gets in the way of the Eiffel Tower, having absolutely no knowledge of things diffracting into the distance. It's absolutely pathetic. Do you feel stupid? You should.
No.
Why not? You don't know what diffraction is. You don't know what the diffraction limit is. You don't know what the Rayleigh criterion is. You're asking me why I can't see the Eiffel Tower forever. It's too small to see. Now, the fact that you would ask such an absurd question makes me think you're an imbecile.
Nathan, that's not a diffraction limit. It's
what is
called
the
diffraction limited system. That's the full name of it, and the resolution of an optical imaging system, a macroscope, a telescope, or a camera. And I can see until an infinity distance. I can see stars.
You can't see an infinite distance. You stupid moron. No, you cannot. There is a diffraction limit, calculable with the Rayleigh criterion. You are stupid. You cannot see an infinite distance. However, if you translate your world into an orthographic view, where you're standing side on to something you're observing, and draw a straight line between the two, as is done in Earth curve geometry, then it would imply that you could see forever. Because the size of the thing you're observing doesn't change its actual value. That would be feet or meters. So it doesn't matter how far you draw the line between observer and target. In Earth curve geometry, you can see an infinite distance. And that's why you think you can see an infinite distance, because you are ignorant of diffraction limits. That's why you think you can see forever. Because in your world, the feet and inches value of a target never changes. Implying you can see forever? That makes you stupid. You can't see forever. There's a diffraction limit, you stupid idiot. No? No response? Were you unaware of this limit you lied about? Rayleigh criterion?
I mean, I've heard about refraction, but I never heard of diffraction. Yes,
you asked me if it was light bending. You haven't got the slightest clue what these words mean. You are the kind of person that asks me why you can't see the Eiffel Tower forever. Like, literally, that is so stupid. I hope you feel stupid with your religious belief that boats go over an Earth curve edge based in geometry that allows you to see forever because it's hijacked perspective and calls it Earth curve, something you are completely blissfully unaware of. Yeah, things get too small to see, moron. It's not Earth curve getting in the way because you can see forever and only Earth curve obstructs things in the distance. That's not what happens. So, my friend, we do have a diffraction limit, calculable with the Rayleigh criterion. It's not that we can see forever, as per your geometric maths, that uses feet and inches for a target, implying you can see it at any distance. A million miles, who cares?
If you look down, do you still see the people?
Flatzoid, please can you not talk through me? My friend, you are completely blissfully unaware of diffraction limits, Rayleigh criterion, things getting too small to see. Why are you even here asking me questions about why you can't see things? That's stupid. Why ask me why you can't see the Eiffel Tower forever? That's a stupid question. That only somebody who believes they're on a sphere and can see forever because their maths takes place in orthographic view would ask that. Just because you're blissfully unaware of this thing called perspective.
Perspective. You're talking about perspective. I get it.
Good. I don't ask stupid questions about why you can't see the Eiffel Tower forever. We've got perspective. Your curve maths thinks you can see forever because it's hijacked that effect and called it Earth curve. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley or Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!
People.
Actually, if I could interject here, if you never came on, to this show and debated the subject, and you were just somewhere in the world looking at something, the further you got away with it, what would your natural inclination be as to what was happening?
That's too small to see now.
Thank you very much. End of story.
That's why I like when Nathan.
Yeah, but that's the flip. You get it? That once you're aware of this topic, now it's like, oh, wait a minute. I should be able to see things forever because it's not a ball, right? So that's the flip point where you have to now something they know that's just automatic. Now all of a sudden it's a question, right?
Well, say
level
the right
is
way.
curved. You ask anybody on the street, is level curved? They're just going to look at you like you got three heads until they get into this argument. Go ahead, my bad.
No, you're good. I want to stay on it with you. I think you brought up a good point. So let's say the further you and I take a trip to a mountain to ski, and now we're headed back and we're looking at another mountain that's not visible. But as we drive closer to it, it's small, it gets a little bigger and bigger. So if you were a baller, you would say what? That I'm seeing it because it's in front of Earth curve? And when I wasn't seeing it, it was behind Earth curve? Right, you would say, I'm seeing little bits of it and finally all of it because it's in front of Earth curve, and I'm not seeing it at all because it's behind Earth curve. That's what a baller would say, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, now a flat earther would say, hey, the only reason we're not seeing it and we live on the plane is because it's too small to see.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
That's why I like when Nathan uses the brick analogy.
I'd say that
it could be too small to see. It could be atmospheric effects going on.
Denver's full of shit.
What the hell?
Rocky Mountains were lock your nest.
Uh-oh.
That was hilarious.
What was that?
Oh, Rod.
Samsonite.
Did you say that I expected loftier than this?
Rockier than this.
He's spitting Dumb and Dumber lines.
Yeah, just to round that out, their maths ignores perspective. So target's always done in feet and inches. So in your example, the mountain, as you see it, when you calculated it, you'd have your side of your own head looking at the mountain and it'd be coming towards you and you'd be revealing more feet and inches at the bottom of it as it comes around Earth's curvature. That would completely ignore the fact that it's getting bigger as you're going towards it and you don't see the side of your own head, and we do have perspective, and the feet and inches value is irrelevant because it's got an angular size as you're getting closer. All those things are excluded in the Earth curve maths because they've hijacked perspective and called it Earth curve.
Nathan, I shared a photograph from Master B of the moon, if you wouldn't mind putting it up for a second. I'll just tell a story about it.
That's... So while you're getting that up, that's why I love that thing so much about Main Surveyor saying that auto levels aren't accurate from 200 feet further. They're just accurate to 200 feet. They're actually implying that every major distance observation they make is just optical drop and not actual drop.
Is it me or is he low?
He's doing work. He's got a compressor running in the background. I've got your moon up, Brian. For the audience, at least, not for you.
All right, hold on a second before we start. Nathan, they can't hear you in Discord.
How can they not? I'll just refresh it. Check. Hear me?
I don't.
I'll try disconnecting and refreshing and reconnecting. Let's see if that works. Check. No?
No, not working.
I'll go into after show. See if that works. Check. Can you hear me, Righteous?
Yeah, it works. I'll just move.
Perfect.
I'll move everybody there.
One of the best things ever after show. Last time it took like 20 minutes to figure out why I hadn't got sound, and then after show worked. Brian.
Yeah, hey Nathan. Yeah. Just for people like that guy that was speaking there a while back, who are completely naive on the topic and not giving it any logical thought. I have a camera. It was €300, brand new. It's called a Panasonic Lumix FZ82. Now, this is a shot of the moon. This is the closest I could get. I could maybe even get slightly closer to the moon than this, but you wouldn't be able to know it's the moon because you just see colour, because I would have taken away the edge of it there on the bottom left-hand corner. So I got that close to the moon with that camera. So if I could get that close to the moon, it's supposed to be, in their belief, for this guy, in this guy's belief, is like 240 or whatever, 1,000 miles away.
He's scared of telling us about refraction, I think. Diffraction, sorry.
I on Rumpus, no one speaking to you. If I could get that close to the moon, they're supposed to be 240,000 miles away with a €300 camera. You know, I'm actually getting closer there than all these often supposed official photographs from like the likes of NASA and that. So €300 camera got me that close to the moon.
What on earth are you talking about? What do you mean get closer? Do you mean say you have a bigger zoom on your camera? You don't get closer to it. You zoom in more. You have a bigger magnification, bigger zoom. What are you talking about getting closer?
Of course, I'm speaking about zoom. Now shut up.
Right, well, no one who's got a brain cell talks about getting closer. If you're talking about cameras, you're talking about the zoom factor.
I'm visually closer to it. Are you happy now, Rumpus?
If you knew anything about cameras, you wouldn't be using that sort of technology.
Rumpus, you're a moron anyway. You got no status.
Rumpus.
Ron,
how many observations are on your channel?
None.
Of the moon?
Exactly.
Well,
shut up.
Well, that doesn't mean they haven't done it.
It means that you're always talking but never
you know
doing.
Nothing about cameras.
Do your canal test and shut up.
Whether I've got an observation on my channel is irrelevant to the fact you know nothing about cameras.
Yeah, you know everything except for you never do anything.
I know you press the button on top and it goes.
Well,
click.
I'm supposedly doing this test in the next few weeks anyway. This one that this
optical drop. You want to see optical drop? Yeah, optical drop.
Equations from Einstein. We're still waiting on those.
Yeah.
And your Polaris observation too.
Yeah,
That's
the Polaris
another one.
observation too. Yeah. We got two
yes, but you've got this
outstanding
strange
things.
idea. You've got this
And where's
strange
this model
idea
of
that
yours?
you've got this strange idea that you need to go to the North Pole to confirm the Polaris thing. No, you don't. You do not need to do that. You can determine
said
that the
it,
Polaris
not
thing
us.
is valid.
That was your example.
Yeah,
you said it,
Pole.
not us. What do you mean we've got a strange idea? That was your example you challenged us to do and told us how easy it was.
Yeah, it is easy.
So you're simultaneously telling us.
So it's not that strange
guys,
then.
guys, hold on.
That's
Guys, hello.
That's actually not correct. Sorry.
You're simultaneously telling us that it's both really easy for you to demand that we do it, but then we say, okay, go and do it then yourself. You say we don't need to do it.
No, I didn't say that. No, listen to what I'm saying. You do not need to go to the North Pole.
Well, that's good. When you challenged us to get these measurements of the Polaris, then we said, okay, well, if it's derived from the North Pole measurement, then we'd need the North Pole measurement. You were telling us to get it, and we were pointing out that we'd need that North Pole measurement. Now you're telling us it's not important, even though it's your example. Well, that makes no sense.
I have never said you need to go to the North Pole.
Good. Well, we don't need to. Good. Excellent. So how are we going to know that we're moving away from what would be 90 degrees at the North Pole then? How do we know that's happening if we don't get that?
To the North Pole. You can
How do we know that?
validate the Polaris drop without going to the North Pole.
You keep on saying the same thing.
Yeah, I know, because I'm not being interrupted, over-talked all the time. So I'm just trying to get people to understand that you do not need to go to the North Pole. You can establish
Yes, you
with the
do.
Polaris
That's
drop
my criterion.
without
Go
going
back
to the
and look
North
at my
Pole.
criterion.
Without going to the North Pole, you can establish the Polaris thing proves
No,
the
you can't.
Earth.
You're going to have to do that.
Yeah, you've got to get the North Pole first, so we know how it's moving away from it based on that first position. You can't just say, well, I assume that if you were on your back looking at the North Star from the North Pole, that it would be directly above you. I assume that, and then as we move away from it, you can't make that assumption. You've got to establish that first.
You don't need to do that. You made that up. You have made that up. You do not need to do that.
It's a benchmark. It's a benchmark.
You don't need to do it to prove the
I don't care what you think. We have to have a benchmark. These are your claims.
Well, yes, the Polaris demonstrates the curvature of the Earth. What I have never said that you need to go to the North Pole. You can do it just by going a few hundred miles.
Go back and look at the criteria.
Hold on a second.
Okay, you don't have that now, so we can move on.
To do with the Rayleigh
Let's
criteria.
go.
You don't understand what that is.
Equation and tides on the Earth. Let's move there because you definitely don't have anything for Polaris. Let's try this one.
No idea
Rumpus, you've got to have a two-way conversation.
Rumpus,
you're not listening to any replies. Just talking constantly.
Well, I'm being over-talked, so I can't hear if you're over-talking me. You carry on.
Well, you're telling us.
Shut up! Then shut up, and you're here.
Yeah, but I'm not being allowed to get a sentence out.
Shut up! You don't have anything for Polaris.
If we
right?
turn,
keep doing it, Rumpus. I've got no choice but to kick you out.
Second claim.
Yeah, if you keep doing it, just gotta kick you out. Got no choice.
Okay, well, I mean, you don't overtalk me then.
Rumpus, just calm down, man. It's not that serious. Calm down and try to have a convo. Okay.
Someone was asking. I think Nathan was asking me a question. So go ahead.
Sure. You do need Polaris because if you're saying that you're deriving it from a 90-degree at Polaris when you're at the North Pole, that's still an assumption unless you establish it as.
You don't need to go to 90 degrees at the
You're
North Pole.
talking through me, QE. You said moments earlier that I shouldn't talk through you, and yet you're immediately doing it. So it's time for you to leave then, Rumpus, because you're unreasonable, aren't you? You can't have a conversation that's two-way. You asked me to state my position. I tried to. Now you're talking through me immediately. I understand that you're scared of us pointing out that if you're going to derive things from a 90-degree position at Polaris when you're at the North Pole, then you're going to need to talk through that because you're scared of it. You're saying you don't need it when it's a criteria. And there you go talking through me again because you're scared of it, Rumpus. You can't acquire it, even though you're going to be scared of it constantly and never be able to acquire it. And you're going to tell us how you don't need to acquire it, even though it's the benchmark, as QE puts it.
It's not the benchmark.
It is.
No, it isn't.
Okay, well, go and get it then. Go and get it, and we'll reject it. Okay.
Can I reply?
You can go and get it. Have you got it? Have you got it to show us? Okay, show us. We'll see it without Polaris. Show us.
20 seconds. Can I
Show
have
us.
20 seconds to reply to your point?
I haven't quite finished. If you let me finish, I'll give you 20 seconds. If you let me finish, I'll give you 20 seconds. If you let me finish, I'll give you 20 seconds. If you let me finish, I'll give you 20 seconds. If you let me ever finish, you're scared of this. You're scared of this. You're scared of this. Scaredy cat. I'll rumpus you non-stop. Then I'll just kick you out because you're a total dick. That's what it descends into every time we talk to Rumpus. He insists that he's going to get his chance to speak. No, you're ignoring us. It's a simple fact. So, fuck off. You're not going to destroy my show. Ever.
That's the best thing you did today.
Why did he feel the need to assassinate the moon photograph? Because that's what he came in.
Yeah, they've assumed the distance to it based on an R value and Christian Huygens. So, that's where I'd pummel them in terms of, well, how do you know it's that distance? How far away is it? Where have you got these values from? And they haven't. The fact that you can zoom in on it doesn't tell me anything about it. Maybe you can assert that it disproves their distance to the moon. I'm sure they could get around that mathematically.
No, the point I was making about it was that you go to some of the more official sites, let's say NASA and other places, observatories and stuff like that, and you won't be shown anything better. And they're supposed to have these unbelievable telescopes. Yet when it comes to a €300 camera, I can get that. Actually, Tank Man even posted a telescope there the other day, and he was laughing that I actually got better and closer to the moon than this telescope could get. A super telescope thing. It's like we have all the super equipment, but yet we can only show you the same thing as a €300 camera. How far away is it?
No idea.
My son does the same thing, though. He says we could see the moon by just looking at it, and we could see stars, but we can't see Paris. I get the same thing from my 17-year-old.
I got that from Rory. Rory, Nathan, the South African channel, the painter perspective guy. He said, try walking into a camera store and saying, I got an object that's 250,000 miles away. Do you have a telephoto zoom that I could get that? He said they would laugh you out.
Yeah, I used to work in a camera shop. No one ever came in and asked me that.
How did you feel about the cameras? And did you have any beliefs about them?
So it's I could express my beliefs for a while about what they maybe did inside them.
I love that show, by the way. Loved it.
One of my favourite things ever, just before we can move off cameras, right? Because I was fairly competent with cameras when I was flogging them. You had to be to sell them. And a few years later, maybe 5 or 6 years later, I'd actually got the job that I wanted, which is a rep. And I was travelling around the world. I was in Canada, and this guy had bought a telephoto lens. And the reason he bought the camera was to take pictures of hi-fi equipment. And I looked through his camera pictures, and he's like 30 yards away from a stylus taking a picture with this camera. I'm like, man, you bought the wrong camera. And he's like, well, it's good. It's got a really big lens on it. I'm like, no. He's like, well, what's it for? Now, at the time, we were probably 30 stories up in this skyscraper, right? And I grabbed the camera off him and just pointed it out the window, and there was a plane that was just coming past a building in the distance. And I pointed the camera at the plane, held the shutter halfway down so it focused on the plane, moved the camera a few degrees so it had the building, pressed the camera again to focus the building, and then took the picture and just handed it back to him. And he looked at it and he pissed himself. He's like, my God, that's an amazing picture. I'm like, yeah, that's nothing. He was like, but that's what your camera's for. That's what you've got this long lens for. Not taking pictures of needles on record players. You know what I mean? There we go. That was my favourite moment when the knowledge of how to use a camera properly for the first time ever had actually just come into use, and in that moment it looked like I was a pro. I handed him back with this amazing shot, a load of fuzzy, dark, badly lit pictures of styluses followed by this one amazing picture of a plane just passing a skyscraper, all in focus.
I know why Rumpus came in. It's because of what Flatside's videos at the moment showing optical drop. Because I brought my video of optical drop to Rumpus. I rang him privately on Skype and I had an hour and a 45-minute conversation with him, if you could call it a conversation. And he ended up arguing with me about what field of view meant. Because I told him when he does this canal thing, which I don't think he's going to probably ever do now, he's going to see this optical drop. And now Flatside is doing a load of videos on optical drop and proving them all wrong. And now other people are going to be doing it. And now his canal demonstration is going to go down the toilet. Because when he goes and does it, if he does it, he knows he's going to see that. And
what is he actually doing anyway?
He has a problem with me. That's why he came in having a go at me about how I was describing the photograph.
Ah, he was discrediting you with your camera. Ah, now it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, he was. I didn't know what that was about straight away. Now I know. He was having a little go at me. He has a little problem with me.
I see.
Sorry, Neil, but I need to say something there.
That does make more sense.
I was just asking, what is he planning to do with this at this canal? Prove that water is level and flat?
Prove the flat out. Whether he knows it or not.
I'm looking for Flatside's video. I've not seen the most recent one, but I did see the thumbnail for it, Flatside. Oh wow, there's so many channels that start with FL.
When it's silence for the ballers.
How you feel about that?
Is it the one called...
I posted it in Master B for you, his latest one.
Just found it, I think. Most recent one, right?
Great question or something he calls it.
Hey, has it got sound or is it just music? I don't want to risk it if it's just music. Yeah, I don't know if it's his. Okay. Shall I share this with you guys so you can comment on it as it's playing? Would that make more sense?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. Share screen. What do I want to share? You see that? The hangout?
Yeah.
You Flatside, yeah?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, this is going quickly. That is actually the speed it runs at. Okay. I'll show you the floor is level. Same ratios. Flatside's still here. He's obviously spraying something. Oh. Very thorough. I don't know what's coming, so I can't narrate this. So if you're listening to this on an MP3, we're looking at something visual and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we can't. This isn't working.
Yeah, it's you're seeing it, right?
Yeah, I see it.
Because I haven't seen it before, I can't narrate it.
It's about to do it.
Oh, here we go. This is the money shot. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Jesse Kozlowski, are you watching this? And the main surveyor, you getting this? My word.
That's so cool.
I'd say he's a bit off there.
It was worth showing all the build-up, to see how he's got through this. He's thorough. It's good. I'm glad he's got all of that in. I didn't understand what was going on till this. Now, excellent. Yeah, optical drop confirmed. Yeah, it's dropping towards the horizon effectively. Go on, Neil.
That's why Rumpus is throwing a hissy fit.
I see. They needed these things to stay the same feet and inches value because that's how they're going to be represented in a geographic Earth curve model that uses a side-on view. Kind of optical drop.
Yeah, Rumpus actually says that when he looks through the camera at the last post or whatever he'll have as a marker on the canal, if that is below his lens.
Yeah, well, duh.
Yeah. That's our curve.
I don't know. Maybe I missed the past 4 years. Didn't we square this way like in 2015? 2016?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but they gotta keep hearing it.
Oh. Well, Nathan, how does this affect your beliefs?
And how do you feel about how it affects your beliefs?
Nathan, beliefs.
Rudy.
Beliefs. Do you have the beliefs in the mathematics and your beliefs and how does it affect those?
I don't like say. I know you don't like beliefs.
He even thanked me for giving me his beliefs at the end. He just wants flat Earth to be our belief, basically. And as I summarised on that interview, when people have it highlighted that they've got beliefs of their own, they very quickly want to project them onto the person that's pointed that out to them and say, "No, you've got beliefs.
You believe the Earth is flat, you moron. Send up a balloon."
I don't know if you can hear us or not, Flatsoid, but that was epic. Well done.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the audience who got a load of dead air during that. It's just, I didn't know where the video was going, but it was pretty obvious if you're watching and listening that, yeah, things drop towards the horizon, they get smaller into the distance, shock horror, but we have to literally spell it out with an observation, a demonstration of that caliber to make the obvious glaringly obvious with a demonstration of something that you all know implicitly as you move away from something.
It is. This is jokes.
A baller in the chat of that, or in the comments of that video, said, "Your floor is still curved."
Oh my god!
Yeah, because you're on a curve.
But that would imply a 2-inch drop in the floor. Oh my god! These people are so stupid.
That's the level that we're at now, folks.
Well, the curve that we're at.
2015.
That's the level of indoctrination. I mean, to say that something happening on a kitchen floor is impossible unless the kitchen floor is curved. I mean, you just, oh boy.
Now, the more
What are you gonna
disturbing
do with
thing is the lack of apodictic knowledge of things getting smaller with distance.
We can't say that anymore. This is the level we're at. We got to say this is the curve we're at now.
Yeah. Well, in their geodesy books, it has level is curved, so that must be it.
That is insanity.
Yeah, it is.
See, I trimmed out the 3-minute top 3 summary in 3 minutes. Clearly not. I trimmed out the only rows out of that pile of shit interview that I did yesterday, which was the 3-minute summary of all 3 top 3 globe killers in a very concise way, because I thought I was going to get interrupted. So I got it down really quick. Yeah. He was all right.
When did you do that interview?
Say again?
When did you do that?
Yesterday, 20 minutes before it came out.
Oh, really? No. I'm talking about the actual interview.
Yeah, 20 minutes before it came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just seen the 3-minute clip you did. Where is the whole interview? Where do I find that?
Oh, you're missing a real treat.
You're good with the 3 minutes. Trust.
Stick with the 3-minute one. I would. The other one's called Let's Talk Flat Earth.
The guy asked Nathan a question for 10 minutes and then came back and asked him the same question that it took him another 25 minutes to ask him again.
The problem he had was he wants me to have a belief in flat Earth. And when I pointed out that it wasn't, he couldn't quite figure out where to go. So he's got to ask the question over and over again, hoping that at the end of the next time he asks, it'll be, yeah, this is just my belief. I got it from my daddy.
Yeah,
What
that's why
happens is they get a
that's
short
why he was
circuit.
trying to place all those religious undertones over it, right? Like, oh, I know people have these religious beliefs, and so how did you come again to get into this belief? Did it have to do with religion? And then he broke it down to him, like, no, I told you before that I heard flat Earth, and that's what it was. That's it. Like, nah, it has to be some sort of belief for you. Like, wow, okay.
See, that causes a short circuit when they realize that they have the beliefs.
Religious. And then, in the beginning, I was laughing because he was giving his ambiguous response about his learning in science and math, and I was sitting back here, oh, shit, boy. Get ready for the shitstorm.
Yeah, I know. I
went back to his...
I don't know if this guy's ready for this.
Hey, can you hook me up with an interview, man? Let me have a shot at it.
You want a shot at the title?
I went back to thank him because I couldn't find the video because he'd obviously had it private. It didn't actually go out live, but then he released it. And I went in to say thank you for having me. And instead, I find him interacting with the ball of trolls, saying he didn't understand science. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, you didn't give me any science. And don't talk about, what was it he said? Scientific methodology. This is what he was telling the trolls. He doesn't understand scientific methodology. I'm like, hello? You didn't give me any.
Wow.
When was this?
Yesterday.
On his channel?
Yeah. I don't know why I said yes to him. Somebody just must have caught me at a moment. That guy just caught me at that right moment when I was in a very good mood. Maybe I just got laid. Who knows? But he asked me, and I was like, yeah, of course. I'll do an interview.
Right. Well, isn't that a very effective baseline baller tactic? You don't understand. You got it wrong. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
Well, we asked him, well, what science? What science do you have for the globe? right? After the science and mathematics that he had to square off. Science isn't math. Math isn't science. And I think that guy had a hard enough time coming to terms with that before realizing Nathan was asking him, well, where's your science? What science do you have?
Yeah, but he gave me some.
You haven't provided it.
Do you remember what he gave me?
Yeah, if anything, science matters.
What did he give you?
I don't remember what he gave you.
It's all about matter. That's exactly what it's for.
He actually gave me an example. You can't remember what his example was. I don't blame you. You probably switched off by the time you got to it.
Yeah, it was hard to listen to the whole thing.
Oh, it's Cannonball.
It's Cannonball. Yeah.
Cannonball! Drink it!
Well, what's that?
Dragon Ball?
Cannonball.
Oh.
I asked him for his science.
We were into another fictional medium.
Well, no, you just said you fire a cannonball, and that's science. I mean, I'm summarizing it.
Yeah, you're right. I took my headphones off and I missed that part when I came back. We were talking about Cannonball. And I was like, what the hell did I miss?
What does the cannonball do?
Wait, but if that would be the case, then that means that during the Renaissance, suddenly the military went from just fighters to scientists all of a sudden. Right?
No, it wasn't science. There isn't any. We all know there isn't any. It's nice being able to make that carte blanche statement. There is absolutely no scientific evidence for the globe.
What, are you saying cannoneers are not scientists?
What was
not even a scientific
They have
question.
to calculate the path of their projectile. That makes them a scientist, right?
Calculate? That sounds mathematical.
Yeah, science.
Yeah, science! Maths.
Well, if the equations work, it's scientific.
Yeah, I was just drawing this into the farcical.
I need to hear this whole interview now.
Nathan, can I share a video? It's a flat Earth video from exploring the plane, I think it is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, share another video.
It's not mine, no. It's not my one.
Hey, is Flatzoid still here? I want to give him a pun for his.
I just got a pop-up, David. Why is another video? What is the sun we see? Interesting.
Yes, I am here.
Okay, Flatzoid. After watching your video, I really think you had done a good work there. So here's my pun. I had to write it down because it was just coming too fast. Flatzoid cheese grater demo shredded globe claims, and he had fondue-ing it. Who the one, Flatzoid?
Fonduing it.
Fonduing it?
Oh, I missed it.
That's good.
I didn't catch it in time, Brian. Can you stick it in Master B?
Yeah, I can just share my screen if you want to just have that because I have it ready to play from there.
Yes, please. That'd be miles easier.
Yeah, 1 second now. Share screen.
Hey Neil, when you watch Nathan's video, make a mental note on how concise his questions were.
Okay. Will do.
And get a strong coffee.
And by the way, Tent, not to bother you, but I still hold the title for You Kidding Me?
It still gets a laugh.
Okay, want to go ahead with this?
Yeah.
Okay, it's only just I'm just gonna show something here and then ask a few questions about it. So it's just going to be, this is a 90-mile observation from somewhere past Liverpool to somewhere else past Blackpool. So I don't remember the names.
Oh yeah, we've seen this, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I had Anthony Riley on special to discuss this a couple of days after it came out. Hey, Paul.
Good morning.
Hey, Paul.
That's pretty incredible.
I've seen that with my own eyes. Exactly like that. So the first time I went to the Isle of Man as we were coming over probably that hill, that's what it looked like to me and my wife. And I was like, is that the Isle of Man? Looks pretty big. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something else. And then obviously when we got there, we realised it was. But I can tell you from personal experience that that's lens. That's bigger than it should be.
Okay, I've shown enough of it now, yeah? Do you want to see these few photographs before I finish? I'll leave it up to yourselves.
No, it's all good. If you just want to leave it for the panorama, just because it's epic.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Now, the reason I wanted to show that, I'm just going to unshare my screen now, is if you're using the IR filter in the camera, you might know, as you worked with cameras, Nathan, if you're using an IR filter in the camera, you're looking through atmosphere that you normally can't see through. The best example I ever saw of it was of Jay Tolan Media's when he used his P900 looking across from Point Dume in Malibu to Los Angeles. And there was just suddenly this wall past Los Angeles. There was just this wall of atmosphere. Then he changed to the IR filter, and he could see all the way to Mount San Jacinto, and maybe further if Mount San Jacinto wasn't there. So if you were taking away the atmosphere, would that mean that you also are negating all refraction? Or would the same refractive effects still be there, even with that?
I think the same refractive effects would be there. If it's refracting any wavelength of light, it's going to be refracting all of them. But I would just be guessing. So I don't know is my honest answer, but I would imagine, yeah, if there's going to be any atmospheric refraction, do they call atmospheric refraction terrestrial refraction, or is it the other way around? No, it is right. Refraction in the atmosphere. I would assume it would also translate directly to IR, but I don't know.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking, and I'd like to find out, is I've been thinking about this, and I first thought about it when I saw Jay Tolan Media's video in 2017, is that if you're looking through atmosphere, the atmosphere is part of the reason why there's refraction. But if you're taking that away, are you possibly negating a lot of refraction? So basically, it's a proof that what we're seeing is what we're actually seeing in a horizontal view. That the ballers could not use 7, not that they can use it, but they will try to use 7.6 refraction. They can't.
Well, that makes a hell of a lot more sense than, oh, look, we got distortion, therefore we're seeing a horizon 10 times further than where the hell we're supposed to be seeing it. What you're saying makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I don't know for definite, so I can't make the claim. I'm just wondering, would that mean that we're actually just seeing that what we're seeing in horizontal? And if refraction is negated,
I just think it's cutting out some of the clutter and crap of the stuff in the air, the debris, the particulate matter, as opposed to what you're calling the atmosphere. Well, when you're describing that, I've done an example. I did a video where I showed the more scratched glasses you stack up to be analogous with, particulate matter in the air at distance. Well, you're going to cut straight through that with IR. But as for cutting through actual refraction, i.e. if there's a different layer of heat above that cold water, if that's going to cause the light to transition, it's just going to cause all of it to transition, I would assume. But the debris and shit that's in the air, basically, you could cut through all of that with IR.
Okay, I don't know either myself. So what you're saying, we'll go along with, because we presume that would probably be happening. Go on.
I can give an answer. I don't know 100% if it would be technically 100% accurate, but I think it's very close to it. And that is that if you're going to narrow down the specific spectrum of light, then it's going to have different influences. So a normal sight has a wide spectrum of light, everything within the visible range pretty much, because you're seeing in color. Well, all of those lights will have slightly different reactions to refraction. That makes it more blurred up of a soup on average closer by than a very narrow spectrum of light that will then reach further. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, that's correct.
Because the different lights have slightly different phasings and all that.
No, shorter wavelengths are affected more by what the so-called quote unquote refraction.
So IR would be more affected then.
It should be. because it's only very specific frequency. So it's not going to be diffusing as much along the way by the refraction effects of the material it's going through. See?
I don't know if that's necessarily
Different
true.
types of light.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, I'm saying it. I think it might be true. I think it could be tested. We should ask.
Do you want to? I just want to raise my objection. The reason the reason I want to raise the objection is because it's contrasted directly with the type of the way a wave would work. There's no other way I can describe this. So it's translatable into sound waves when you describe it in that way, and I just don't know if light actually behaves that way or not. I don't think so. I know it's not a wave, but I'm just saying to make that description pan out, I should say, you've got to reify light into a physical wave to have it do that.
No, you don't.
Okay.
You can also conceive it as infinitely divisible beams, which would be, still particles, but not with a minimum size. And hey, whether you're going to die on that hill or not, it would hand out a lot more explanation as to what's going on without presupposing falsely that light is a wave.
I wouldn't die on that hill if I were you. You'd die quick.
Who?
No, because it's still here. It's still not been refuted, all my arguments.
Oh, yeah, it has been refuted.
No, you have not refuted. You only refuted every old argument given in response to that. You have not refuted anything.
Stop it.
Yeah, it has been refuted. You just conjured it.
You refuted light being a wave. That's all you ever refuted. I'm not claiming that.
You just conjured it. So I don't have to refute conjuring. Sorry.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Anyway, my point was that in terms of the way that the diffusion of light specifically is described, it is analogous to how sound diffuses, and I just don't believe that that's how light works.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
It don't matter anyway. I mean, I don't even know why we're here with their silly refraction. Gargantuan refraction is the new one. Oh, I let it loose.
I saw Chocolate's
the rest
list.
of refraction is all nonsense.
That's
it's a paradox in way, however you spin it.
I woke up to a little chat between Chocolate Sane and Quantum Eraser in Ballbusters, where he's like, I might even read it because it made me chuckle when I woke up this morning. Here we go. At John. We can't, of course, forget 1. Bendy crane refraction. 2. Strong aggressive refraction. 3. A refraction of a different character. 4. Mega super looming refraction. That made me laugh.
Super mega looming.
Super mega looming.
Thanks for those. I'm going to incorporate them. We got one more to add to the list.
A slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena.
No.
What about the astronomical refraction?
No.
What about the knowing which reference frame Coriolis collapsing refraction?
Yeah, you're a friggin' trolling me on that. I was pissed. I thought you had something.
Well, terrestrial refraction's not in that list, but other than the obvious, what else?
I got what else? You want me to say? Okay, I'll give you the raw.
Slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena. I've already had that one.
I'll give you the raw one. Hold on, I'll put it in Ballbusters. 1 second.
Okay. Well, I think the hyena refraction should make it in. To Tim Osman.
Shout out Chocolate.
It literally came. I'm not sure if it was phrased exactly as this, but when we were looking at that hyena on the plane, it did become a slightly looming, non-standard refraction hyena, didn't it? That was actually what we were discussing. Oh, here we go.
Defend your positive claim that was falsified. You are confused, correct?
I mean, there was an absolute gargantuan amount of refraction as well. So I didn't go to college. I mean, there was an absolute gargantuan amount of refraction as well. So I didn't go to college.
Gargantuan amount of refraction. Wow.
Yeah, what's next? Colossal refraction? Titanic refraction?
Super Saiyan refraction.
Gargantuan.
It's gargantuan, baby.
That was Lewis, right?
Lewis Hackett, yeah.
There was a movie called The Gargantuans.
Oh, John, did you add my what was it called again? Fractalooming. It was an earlier version, but it's still.
I think he's looking for like the ball tard responses.
Yeah.
They never catch on to mine. I tried.
Alwyn's never going to get paid for these ideas if you don't put them out there.
Eventually. Indeed.
He's looking for too much money, that's why. You got to bring the price down, Owen.
Every time I
No.
say it, he's sincere.
If anything, I'm going to bring my price up.
$17 million.
No, it's still 6. It's fine. But it all depends on how desperate they are to keep it going and preventing themselves from going insane. If it's getting worse and worse, yeah, I'll ask more money because they'll have more money, and that's why that's the reason probably why they're like that. So yeah, pay up.
You say you're putting a presentation about all these refractions together. Is that what I heard?
No, I'm not doing a whole presentation. I just wanted a small summary. I forgot to write them down before, and then when I heard gargantuan refraction, I said, "Damn, what's those other ones?"
I think super mega looming is still better.
Mega looming.
Oh, super mega looming. It's very important. Like the emphasis on super.
Yeah, that was rumpus too. Remember?
Yeah, I'll never forget that ever again.
Then we had infinite refraction.
Yeah, where you see your own ass in a telescope.
No, that was from that numpty. The heck is his name? Where's he been to? The one from
Ruhith. Infinite over 6.
Rufi.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Seeing your own ass in a telescope is Ruhith. So yeah, that's again down to the idea that if you had enough refraction, you could see your own ass in a telescope around a sphere Earth as it bent the light continually around until you saw your own ass. Obviously, that ignores the fact that even if the notion, which is preposterous to begin with, was capable of being done, you'd be too small to see at the distance, but they don't have any perspective in their maths. So in orthographic view, drawing a line around a sphere, they can actually assert that you'd see your own arse in a telescope because they ignore perspective and bend the light at 7/6 of a radius value they can't measure.
It's still technically incorrect. It can be infinite refraction because then you would see nothing. Because the refraction is all about the bending. So if it's infinite, then infinite amount of bending, you're gonna looking at an inward spiral, basically. That's not so very nice, infinite refraction, but that's not gonna work out.
What I said, see your own ass.
Don't they also have an inverse square law of light? Like, does light work that way? Would light reach from one side and then go all the way around the ball to hit you in the ass? Like, does that work?
No.
Well, they should have just called it 360 refraction, not infinite refraction, because it only goes 360 degrees, not more, because then you wouldn't see anything.
Not to answer Chocolate's question without interruption, but no, it's not optical in their calculator, is it? Orthographic side view would have you as a 6-foot man, and then they just calculate how much they have to bend the light around the Earth curve to see it. In other words, nothing to do with optics, everything to do with bending a straight line in an orthographic view.
Right.
Who wants the last
So
word?
are we saying that Ruhif's refraction example isn't what's cracked up to be?
Boom, boom! And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
I want it back. What a lovely day!